Nicola Liquori was named Executive Director and CEO of Florida's Turnpike in August 2019. She began service at the Turnpike Enterprise as Deputy CFO back in 2006 and as the CFO from 2009 till 2016. And in between 2016 and last year, she was serving as Executive Director of the new Sunrail program to help get that program established here in Central Florida. Like Kevin, she has years of experience in the private sector, in her case with finance firms or consulting roles with respect to finance. Nicola, the microphone is yours, if it's on.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm going to give an update on the Turnpike system, just touch on a few areas of interest. And so one of the first things that we wanted to talk about was an update on our fiscal 20 revenues, actual versus forecast. And so one of the things that's been noted is the reduction in the traffic volumes happened a little bit in the first week of March and then more heavily in the second week of March. We operate on a fiscal year end, as most people know, a fiscal year that starts July 1 and goes through June 30th. So as you look at fiscal year 20, you really go back to July 1. And so for the full fiscal year 20, we had projected revenues of a little over $1 billion, $1.775 billion. And through February, we were reporting revenues right in line with the forecast. We were tracking really well with the forecast. And then through March, obviously the middle of March, and then through the end of March, we saw some of the impacts, but we were still within 2% of forecast. The April numbers haven't been fully reconciled yet, so we'll take a look at those, but I think there is some positives to look at there in terms of, just being 9 months through the fiscal year as it relates to actual revenues that have come in. Wanted to talk a little bit about the traffic patterns, as the Secretary mentioned, both statewide and on the Turnpike system. Obviously, we had a reduction in traffic, but we're starting to see some of that uptick since Governor DeSantis's recovery plan was announced a few weeks ago. And as a matter of fact, last week's traffic, as it compared to the week before, had rebounded by about 11%. So, we continue to analyze those numbers and we watch those move from week to week. But one of the things that we often talk about as it relates to the Turnpike system, and one of the strengths of our system, is that it's diverse. It is a diverse system statewide. Whether it's looking at vehicle mix or trip purpose, we have a nice diversification of that revenue base. And so traffic on the Turnpike system ranges from those daily commuters in more urban areas to the occasional users, to the tourists, and then to commercial vehicles. And so those traffic patterns can vary quite significantly from one facility to another. Polk Parkway doesn't look like Sawgrass Parkway, doesn't look like the main line, doesn't look like 528. And so, it's hard to kind of put all of it in a bucket, but for me, I think the Beach Line West was one of the facilities that I found to be the most interesting. And so the Turnpike section of the Beach Line West is about the 8-mile section from I-4 over to where it adjoins with the Central Florida Expressway portion of the Beach Line. And that's a facility that serves a daily commuter base. It's also a facility that serves traffic coming out of Orlando International Airport, and it serves commercial traffic. And so, as you might imagine, with the tourist traffic being reduced and commuting being dampened, that passenger traffic was down. But when you looked at the 3+ axle traffic, when you compare last week to the week before and last week to the same week in the prior year, commercial traffic was actually up. So it served a vital need and continues to do so. So again, we look at those traffic patterns. They're quite different from facility to facility. We'll continue to collect and analyze that data, as I'm sure the rest of our peers are going to outline. When we look at the types of improvement projects that we have and any changes that we might have to our capital plan or our work program, it really is very early in the process to know the full impact and what the recovery period is going to look like. But I would say that from a process standpoint, every year we prepare a new 10-year revenue forecast, and that goes into the development of the 5-year work program that is submitted with the rest of the department to the legislature. And so that's a process that occurs every year. It begins with taking the actuals from the prior year and doing some evaluations. Did we open a new facility like we did last year with the First Coast Expressway? Were there any hurricane impacts? Were there any other impacts from maybe an AET conversion? And so all of those things are evaluated and put into that 10-year forecast. And so obviously we'll be looking at what this impact will have, but we really need to see what happens with traffic from March, April, May, and in through the summer when we prepare that forecast in the fall. So we're really taking a look at that. But one of the other things that we often look at when we build our capital program is how we're going to fund our projects with the Turnpike system. So obviously we can cash fund some of those projects, but we also bond fund some of those projects. And so one of the things that I wanted to highlight was the opportunities that the muni debt market offers us. And so we actually had a bond refunding transaction that was priced in February and closed in April. So talk about a big change in perspective from the beginning of the transaction to the end of the transaction. But we held our AA rating, and we received an interest rate of 1.76% and a net present value savings of $68 million. That's the largest net NPV savings that I've seen in my time with the Turnpike. Very successful results. But what that means is those are resources that were forecast in our finance plan. That's an interest cost that now we get to reduce, and so that goes as an opportunity for some other offsets in the program. So we'll build that program as we always do, and if we need to look at the timing of some of the projects and the scoping of some of the projects, we certainly have the flexibility within our program to do that. As the Secretary mentioned, we have accelerated a number of our projects throughout the system. We had a number of projects, particularly in South Florida, that had a long construction duration, and we were able to get those across the finish line. When we look at the impact from expanding or accelerating some of the completion of these projects, we quantify it in terms of 118 days of impact, positive impact, by reducing construction, maybe 3 days on one project, maybe a couple of weeks on another project. And I think we all know as transportation professionals and as drivers on the facilities that every day of reduction in construction is a good day. So, so those were very positive results that we've seen. As it relates to our toll operations, just a reminder, the Turnpike system is about a 500-mile system of roads. Some of our roads have been converted to all electronic tolling. Certainly the facilities that are in South Florida, along with Miami-Dade Expressway Authority, and in Tampa with the Tampa-Hillsborough Expressway Authority. And so those facilities up through around Broward County are already in an all-electronic phase. Here in Central Florida, with our partner Central Florida Expressway Authority, we still have that mix of electronic collection through SunPass or ePass and cash toll collection. And so that's where we've made that modified version of an AET-like operation while we removed collectors from the lanes. Earlier this year, we completed the conversion of the Suncoast Parkway in West Central Florida to all electronic tolling. And so what that means for those that aren't familiar, that's actually Toll Road 589 that begins in Tampa as the Veterans Expressway and climbs up the West Coast for about 57 miles. So currently that is our longest contiguous section of all electronic tolling on our system. Currently active right now, we have the construction activities for the conversion of the ticket system, the more rural part of our mainline system, from just south of the West Palm Beach Service Plaza up through just north of the Canoe Creek Service Plaza, milepost 236 on the mainline system, That is currently converting to all electronic tolling. And that's the most interesting part of our system because it is an origin destination based system, an entry and exit based system. So the conversion of this system will be much different because it will actually convert to more of a barrier fixed price type gantry system. And so what that means is we will get the benefits of all electronic tolling, but we will get some additional benefits from back office efficiencies and also from the simplification of business rules. So I think that's a pretty significant project. And then of course we'll take the main line up from the end of the ticket system around Osceola County up to Wildwood with the terminus in I-75, and that all electronic conversion is also underway. So we'll look at other parts of the system for all electronic tolling. Polk Parkway will go under construction in the next year or so, and then we'll evaluate other parts of the system as it makes sense. One of the things that we look at as it relates to toll operations is, especially in a situation like this, which does have some parallels to the Great Recession back in 10, 12 years ago, and that is the status of the underbanked or the unbanked. And so I think that is something, and I know with my tolling partners here, we all struggled with this. We all worked together to find a solution for this. And that's where we looked at providing the opportunity for customers to enjoy the benefits of being a SunPass ePass customer, but being able to manage their account as they needed to on a cash basis. And so that's when we launched our money services operations, where you can go to literally thousands of locations across the state. You can go to our website, type in a zip code, and you'll get a return of a number of locations where you can actually go into a grocery store, convenience store, check cashing location, and you can put cash on your account. For some people, it's just too difficult to put a credit card on file and have us take out, whether it's $25 or $40 to replenish their account. They really need to manage it much closer. And so one of the things that we did earlier this year was we had conducted some focus groups in the Jacksonville area, in the Orlando area, South Florida, Miami area. There may have been a couple of other locations. And we really wanted to kind of look at our marketing plan and see where we had some hits and misses as it related to SunPass. And one of the things that we found was that customers didn't realize that they didn't have to put a credit card on file, that they could manage the replenishment of their account on more of an as-needed basis. And so we're really going to take some of that feedback and look at marketing and outreach plans to really emphasize that benefit of the program. The advantage of that is, one, for all of us, having that the efficiency of electronic toll collection is obviously a positive thing in terms of our operations. But then from the customer perspective, they are afforded the ability to have the lowest possible toll rate. So it really is a win-win from a customer perspective and from our agency's perspective. So that's one of the things that we're looking at there. And then finally, we talked a little bit about technology and the SunTrax facility. And so we're very excited about the SunTrax facility. Obviously, the outer oval is open. We use it very frequently in terms of our toll technology testing. That, I think, is something that is unique to the state of Florida. And I happen to think that we have really advanced the toll vendors, the system performance through the rigors of the testing that we have done here in Florida as it relates to lane systems. So we'll continue that with SunTrax. We have the construction of the infield of the SunTrax facility underway, and we have an active procurement for an operations and maintenance provider to handle the day-to-day operations and then leverage opportunities for testing, for automated vehicle testing, connected vehicle testing out at the facility. So there's more to come on that, but I don't want to talk about that too much because of the active procurement. And then finally, one of the things that the Secretary has challenged us with is looking for ways to look to our industry and to prepare the next generation of transportation professionals. And so what we want to do with the SunTrax facility, and this is very early on in the development, but we're looking at a SunTrax Academy and really looking at the STEM and STEAM curricula and trying to break it down between kindergarten and 5th grade, 6th to 8th grade, and then the high school group, and see if we can do something to make sure that they're interested in transportation, that they know that there's some very cool aspects to transportation, and really to try to groom that next generation of professionals. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Phil. Thank you.
Hey, Nicola, thank you very much. This is a great report, and congratulations on the refinancing. You know, the state of Florida really benefits from everybody on this panel being experienced and very astute with handling finances of the state. So congratulations.